All right, I want to do this video so that I'm not seen as a dictator and that I have a plan in place as to why I'm not increasing the XP sliders. Back in the summer, for those that weren't here in the summertime, I informed the league in 17 we won't play checkers. We will be playing chess at this point. So coming into this season, I kind of figured and I always knew that the XP sliders would remain where they were going into this version of Madden. Now, the season really hasn't kicked off, in my opinion, to be honest with you. The season for me really doesn't kick off until we get to the high stakes season. That's when all the chips will be placed on the table. And my goal is at this point, the first 3 or 4 seasons, to start weeding out all the players that came in the game out the box. I'll give you an example. The Steelers, and I'm not picking on the Steelers in any instance, but he came out the box with a pretty good team. Big Ben at quarterback, Le'Veon Bell, Brown, great speed at the linebacker position on defense, good defense. But at some point, that boy's good is going to have to start making some hard decisions about how to move his team forward, because players are going to start to get old, retire, and he's a good user, so that means that he's going to always usually end up, drafting late in the draft. So at that point, there's really not a lot of good quarterbacks or, top quality quarterbacks that far back in the draft unless you get lucky or whatever. And hell, Brown will get old, or he'll start to regress, because what we've come to find out in this game is that players start to regress a lot earlier than they did in previous Maddens. So he will have to put on his GM hat and start making hard decisions about how he moves the team forward. Hell, even myself, Julio is 28. At some point, he's going to start to regress. I have to start making hard decisions about how I replace him at some point to get somebody in here. Now, we can look at the real NFL. I've only seen it happen once, where you had a Hall of Famer sitting behind another Hall of Famer playing, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. How often do you see that? You don't see that too often. So you may have your starting quarterback, he goes down, the guy sitting behind him may suck. So at that point, you may have to change up your whole style of play until he comes back off of injury. If that means that, damn, you got to focus on the running game, then you have to focus on the running game and throw when you have to. That's the real NFL. Having offensive linemen, your starting offensive line, let's say one of them happened to get hurt, which seems to be very rare in this game. There's not a quality offensive lineman sitting behind your starters. Now, we up the XP. Let's say we go to 300, just to be on the high end of things, and you're able to develop a deep ass offensive line. Let's say on your defensive line, you're able to develop a deep ass defensive line. It does not happen in the NFL to where you have quality players sitting behind starters. When the starter goes out, you may have to adjust on the defensive line. You may not get pressure. I found that out the hard way coming into this version of Madden. My defensive line sucked the first season. Still aren't that great, but we could get no pressure at all. Finished the season 7-9, I believe. So I had to make GM decisions in the offseason. What do I focus on? I focused on my offensive line. All I drafted outside of the first round, when I drafted my rookie quarterback, was nothing but offense and defensive linemen, because that was a very big hole in my team. So I had to play checkers and be a GM and make those decisions. In this league, we are not going to be able to just depend on XP. Rookies coming in the draft, first rounders, hey, those cats need to play. To be honest with you, when they're young, they get the most XP. I hate giving out these tips, but I don't think some of you guys are looking long term at the league and you only looking, I want to win now. No, you need to build your team, because when we get to the high stakes season, Every team in this league at that point should have an opportunity to win that season, or even building up to that season, should have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl. I look at the Browns, for instance. There's nobody in this league that will argue with me that coming out the box, the Browns are the worst team in the NFL and in Madden. Nobody says, hey, unless you're a fan from Cleveland, nobody says, hey, give me the Browns. It's the hardest team in the world to field. So we currently have a Browns users who happens to be a Super Bowl winner from Madden 26, and he's struggling right now because his team is not that good. But in this league, in a few seasons, if he makes the right decisions and choices, he will be able to be competing for a Super Bowl in this league. Because trust me, I watch all the moves in this league of all the teams, and I see players and users making win now type of trades. They're not playing over the future. They're not building until they want to win right now. I have no problem with that. But they know that at some point that's going to come back to bite them in the ass. That's just the God's honest truth. It's going to come back to bite them in the ass. You need to balance the two between I want to win right now and I need to build this team for the future as well, so that I'm able to win on a consistent basis, as opposed to at some point this team is going to fall apart. Because like I stated earlier in this message, players start to regress a lot earlier. And if they're not meeting their goals, if they're a normal development player, then they fall to a slow development player, which causes their development to increase even more at that point. So, like I said, I'm not trying to be a dictator, but I've looked at the chessboard and I know where this league is trying and where I'm trying to move this league. And I'm in other leagues, or I have been in other leagues where the XP is set at 300. It's been times to where I haven't played a game in like 3 or 4 advances. I come back in there, I got like 11,000 XP off of the sim wins and all the other stuff that the CPU does for you when you don't play. How is that simulation football when you're getting to develop players that sit on the bench, never get in the game, and do absolutely nothing? Everyone in this league knows that in order to get better as a player, you don't get better sitting on the bench. You get better playing the game. So, like I said, not a dictator. Not trying to be an asshole. I just know I looked at the board and I know where this league is going. Some people may not agree with this, but that's your choice. Everybody here is grown. If you don't like the trajectory of this league, then you have the option to leave. It's just that simple. But the XP will not be increased. As far as injuries go, injuries happen in the real NFL. It is your job as the coach, the general manager, to build depth on your team. Give you an example of myself. No, I'll give you an example of the Steelers again. Big Ben went down. The Steelers have still been able to find a way to win with his backup Hoyer. He's had to make some adjustments. That's what you do. You make adjustments. My rookie QB went down. I'm stuck back with Matt Ryan. In this game, Matt Ryan is not the best quarterback. He seems to like to throw the ball to the other team. And my offensive line, for some reason at this point, has decided that they don't want to block for the run. So I'm dependent on the pass, which I hate. In the beginning of the season, it was not like that. I was able to run the ball and throw the ball and run a balanced offense. But that all changed, so I had to adjust with it. It's just aspects of Madden, I guess. I have no idea. But if you guys have any questions, feel free. I don't tell people to be quiet, but I just, just the simple fact of people, you mentioning it, thinking that it's going to change, and you're going to start a movement here in this league to get the XP sliders changed or the injuries changed. It's not going to happen. If I get down to 2 players in this league and we play together, I'm cool with it. But as long as we stay on the trajectory that I set forth, I'm cool with it. Because I know my goal is to give everyone an opportunity at winning. In other leagues, when the XP is set at 300, the top tier teams always stay great. If you got smart dude in there. I will say there are some dumbasses in some of these leagues. But they are able to stay good because they are constantly able to just add XP to BS players. That's not here. Once again, man, thank you for listening. I hope you listen. I hope you understand what I'm saying, where I'm coming from. And I hope that everyone here continues to move forward with the league. Peace out.